Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have 3 clips to watch. One fairly long, 2-minute one, this one here, and then 2 shorter ones from France, highlighting that fuel shortages isn't just affecting the USA, it is affecting specifically Western countries. Now, why are leaders from numerous Western countries allowing fuel to be depleted in their national stocks by such an egregious amount? Who knows? Maybe those quote-unquote conspiracy theorists are right again. How many times are they going to be right? Who knows? The main clip, though, is this one here. This is a invariably taxpayer-funded, either directly or indirectly, advert made by the United Nations. Here they're going to tell you that if you don't give them more power, if you don't do what they tell you, you're going to become like a dinosaur. In other words, extinct. This is as fear-prone as you can get. It is just fear-prone. That dinosaur is the star of the show. Because they want you to know that, they want you to feel it in your bones, that if you don't do what they say, if you don't give them power, money, privilege and influence, and total control over your life, not their own, they'll go on their jet set holidays and they'll do all of their elitist things, but if you don't, you're going to go the way of the dinosaurs. Anyway, let's check this out. We'll get into this video now. If you haven't yet, though, please like the video. If you find it informative, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell, and share the video around. We also have a membership scheme where you can become a paying supporter of the Hoggcast. We are the underdog. We are conservative commentators. And I have 8 amazing members so far who all humble me that they value and support my commentary as much as they do. It's very humbling. Anyway, let's go. So as usual, we'll watch this 1-minute clip and then we'll watch it uninterrupted and then go back and we'll watch it again and I'll stop it intermittently to make the points that I would love to make. Bursting to make.
Listen up, people. You're headed for a climate disaster. And yet every year, governments spend hundreds of billions of public funds on fossil fuel subsidies. Imagine if we had spent hundreds of billions per year subsidizing giant meteors. That's what you're doing right now. Around the world, people are living in poverty. Don't you think helping them would make more sense than, I don't know, paying for the demise of your entire species? You've got a huge opportunity right now as you rebuild your economies and bounce back from this pandemic. So here's my wild idea. Don't choose extinction. Save your species before it's too late. It's time for you humans to stop making excuses and start making changes. Thank you.
What was that? What was that? Right? This crap is aimed at the West. This is it. It's now or never. It's a great reset, right? Reading between the lines is a wonderful thing. Anyway, we'll go back, we'll play it again, we'll stop it intermittently, and I will make some points that I want to make because this it irritates me, but in a way that's kind of like you just become numb to it. You just like, what is this, Tosh? Okay, so the fear-inducing dinosaur United Nations clip.
Listen up, people. You're headed for a climate disaster.
Sorry to interrupt so quickly. This is the new thing because they know that Rona didn't. Largely, by now, people haven't just dissolved into gibbering wrecks. I know you get the odd COVIDiot who, a masked monster, yeah? But mostly people aren't buying it. So now, it is climate catastrophe. Only in the West, mind you. Only you Like, as if the climate has some sort of consciousness where it can kind of its own volition ignore China and Russia and other east, like split down east and west. Yeah?
And yet every year governments spend hundreds of billions of public funds on fossil fuel subsidies.
And they also spend hundreds of billions of taxpayer funds funding the United Nations, the most useless globalist engine on planet Earth. Tell me one conflict the United Nations has ever stopped. Hasn't stopped any of them. Zero. Has a perfect track record of failure. A perfect track record of failure. I mean, what does it exist for? It was created from the ashes of the what was it called? The League, wasn't it? Before the United Nations, it was called the League of Nations. That's it. The League of Nations. What did the League of Nations fail to do? Stop World War One. So the League of Nations was replaced with a new name, as we often see, the United Nations. It was the same thing, just with a different name, only now it had a clean track record. It failed to stop wars again.
Imagine if we had spent hundreds of billions per year subsidizing giant meteors. That's what you're doing right now.
Explain.
Around the world, people are living in poverty. Don't you think helping them would make more sense than, I don't know, paying for the demise of your entire species?
The demise of your entire species. Which asteroid are we funding? I mean, what? We're funding meteors? What are you talking about? Right? Which? Name it. I'd like to know. I'd like to understand what you're talking about. I honestly would. So, the people living in poverty. Yes. Do you know what? People will always live in poverty. I've lived in poverty, but myself, I've been homeless before in my life, been jobless. I've lived in poverty. People always will do. The British taxpayer right now are funding, and they have been for some time, funding prepaid debit cards for a whole community, a semi-nomadic community in Pakistan. Why? Why are we funding them? Why are we giving them prepaid debit cards? Hundreds of pounds a month. Why are we funding that? So what do you mean? Because we are helping people in need. It's all we do in the West. We've become a dying civilization of pathological altruism loving nihilists.
You've got a huge opportunity right now as you rebuild your economies and bounce back from this pandemic. So here's my wild idea.
It almost looks like the Great Reset, doesn't it? This massive, oh no, pandemic. They tell you that you've got an opportunity. Nah. It was an opportunity for them. The haves. They're using your money to make an advert to try to tell you, the have-nots, that it's an opportunity for you. Just give them more of your money. Power, privilege, position, security, all the things that they'll deny you. So let's hear this dinosaur's wild idea.
Don't choose extinction.
Wow! I didn't know I had that choice. I mean, it's just like pushing a button, isn't it?
Save your species before it's too late. It's time for you humans to stop making excuses and start making changes. Thank you.
It's now or never. What a coincidence. This is the United Nations. It's now or never, says the dinosaur. They're right. The messaging in this advert is overt. It is blaring out. Right? You've just got to learn to read between the lines. And I know most of you who watch this small YouTube channel do. I know most people who watch the bigger content creators do, whilst conservative commentators are allowed to make content. But there are so many people out there who consume, and they don't read between the lines. They haven't learned the subtleties of doing that yet. And it's those people that are leading the West down this road. Because it's literally one hemisphere of this planet that this is aimed at. The other half just laugh at this stuff. Yeah? Great reset. So we'll move on to the next clip now. So you've seen how people are kind of trying to not necessarily fight back, but to exert their will in various ways. And France, always the West, is the latest place where mandates are being pushed back upon. So let's move on to the next clip. So this is in France. It is in that city there that I could not hope to pronounce, whatever that is. Aix-en-Picardie. Whatever that place is called, yeah. Liberté. I know that. That means freedom, yeah. I know that word. So this is a wait until you hear this. This is this is how it's been worded to me, yeah. It's a COVID restricted supermarket. In other words, that means if you don't have the mark of the beast, if you don't have your internal passport with you, then you don't enter. So they've gone in and they've filled all of their trolleys. And do you remember the clip I showed you in Australia of the picnickers who picnicked outside the restaurants that had the mandates? Well, this is similar, only they're filling their trolleys as if they're about to check out. They get to the checkout and then they just empty the stuff. That's their way of responding to a situation they don't like, because that shows the big corporations that you need the people. As much as the people get derided and the working people, the ordinary people, working class people get derided as if they mean nothing, really it's you that need us. It's you that needs the working people. Yeah? Because they keep your pyramid up. Without them, you and yours collapses. And I'm talking to the globalists when I say that. Anyway, let's check this out.
Liberté! Liberté! Aix-en-Provence. Le 29 octobre.
So you can see that they've left all of their shopping containers, their trolleys in there. Goods worth thousands of euros, the most ridiculous currency. We've done so much wrong in this country, but the one thing we did do right was not joining the euro, which they never forgave us for, because the French wanted us to join the euro so that the financial centre would move from London to Paris. And that never happened, which aggravated them. When we left the European Union in 2015, well, at least on paper left, I'm not sure if we still even have, because this Brexit just goes on forever. Like this, the you-know-what situation goes on forever. It just never stops, does it? Nothing ever stops, it only gets worse. That's called apathy, and you'll find that sentiment is echoed a lot. If you ask people, they'll often say that, because apathy is set in to the West, and it's why nothing changes. Sure, you get small acts of resistance like this. I don't know what to say. Good on them for doing it. But what does it achieve? If they go back there quietly the next day to do a bit of shopping, it was all for nothing. If there's another market in the area, pick your battles, isn't it? Make this one collapse and then do your shopping at the next one. Then do the same there. But big business need to know that the people aren't pawns. The people aren't products. The people aren't animals that you can do testing on. The people are the people. And everything you see in the country is theirs. It's their birthright. If you're an American, everything in America is your birthright. It's your children's birthright. If you're French, everything in France. Some dusty old twat in the United Nations has no right telling you what is your birthright or your destiny. Or we need to act now. Who's we? Who's we? Some unelected busybody from the United Nations? He's not the same as me, so who's we? Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think of these clips. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell, and share the video around. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.